I had a dream. I was standing still in the darkness of a strange room. A strong voice spoke. "What gets you out of bed in the morning? What's your real-life purpose?" I had no idea. My mouth was dry. Words would not come out. Suddenly the voice roared like a lion. I was pushed from behind to enter a lighted area, and my feet began to move. The voice said, "Don't forget to take the key." How can a small group of ordinary people successfully change a bad habit? I mean, change a habit that has caused so much destruction in our communities. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, courageously said, "No more! It's unacceptable to drink and drive." And they came up with an idea, acted on a set of solutions, and made a powerful difference. Well, I am proposing a similar "No more" with Citizens Against Fearmongering, CAF. It's unacceptable to use and abuse fear against others in forms of manipulation and domination. In this video, I'll present the basic program I would like to introduce to communities in Calgary that will help put fear and its role in a healthy place in our relationships. What research shows is that MAD, or any project, cannot be successful fully if it is only against something. It equally has to be for something. And that something has to inspire us to reach beyond the normal, towards a common higher goal. CAF is for everyone reaching their highest potential. It is for understanding that everyone has their own journey to achieving that potential. Everyone deserves support. My 30 years research and life experience has shown that the greatest limitation to a person reaching their highest potential is the barrier of excess fear, and especially constructed fear habits, mostly formed in our past, often in childhood, and what can be called fear addictions. That form when people are stressed and non-supported to make the best decisions. In this program, I am offering a focus on the education we often missed in our youth, and still may be missing. We are going to learn how a healthy fearlessness, not just bravado or self-inflation or denial of pain, can work for us and guide us to face our realities and struggles with a new courage and a set of practices, well proven, that guide better choices. Traumas too often have been a scar on our lives, and they carry hurtful experiences forward from the past to infect the present and the future. Burying hurts is not a best decision, as we'll learn in this program, and yet no one ought to be blamed for burying hurts they've believed at the time were overwhelming. The cycle of hurting, fear, and violence and shame accompanying it can be broken. We all as a community, as humanity, have eventually to ask why the quality of life may not be as good as it could be. We'll have to ask powerful questions. And then decide how to change and how to best live beyond the rule of fear, insecurity, and mistrust. The social fabric of society, its healthy and sustainable functioning, is based on trusting the basic gifts of life and the inherent goodness of human nature. Even despite the tragedies, yes, the disappointments, and yes, the hurts that go along with existence. Fearlessness, not fear, has to be tried out as an alternative, and with time and persistence, maybe even eventually become the new normal. I'd like to help communities find out what that would look like. So, who am I, and what is my life mission? Where to begin, I'll start with a little biography, because coming to a concept like liberation is not exactly what everybody goes around, as you may notice, talking about liberation. No, we don't. We usually talk about how to cope with reality, how to get on with the world and make the best of it, and all these other kinds of phrases that come, and don't complain, and or just do it, as Nike would say in their ads, just do it. So, well, I don't quite work that way. I'm a critical thinker, and so the first part of my bio, I think, that makes me a critical thinker is, I think of when I was 12 years old. I come from a family of 5, mom and dad, and older brother, younger sister, and I'm the only one that kind of pursued secondary education, post-secondary education, and continued to be really an intellectual type of person. To think about my criticality and where it started, there's so many places, but I think a real big one I remember at 12 years old. So this is just prepubescent, right, where we make big decisions about our life as a person as we go into teenagehood and then getting ready for so-called adulthood. And I remember at 12 years old saying to myself, I was in bed, I think I was very upset. Some fight was probably going on in the house between mom and dad or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And I said to myself, you know, whatever I do in life, I just don't want to be like my mom and my dad. That's a pretty amazing thing to say for 12 years old. I don't know where that came from, but I remember it to this day. I remember, and I'm 66 years old now, and I remember how passionately I felt about it. It was like, talk about a life commitment statement to oneself. Talk about the beginning of a manifesto for myself before I even knew what that word meant. So what was I rebelling? What was I critical about? Obviously I was rebelling. I said as I look back, it was, I do not want to be only a working class person. And my parents, I would say, were in the poor to working class, worked hard, double jobs, still couldn't afford to really buy many things very fancy at all, and we only bought a house much later in life. They were always renters, etc., etc. Lived in, lower class neighborhoods and all those kinds of things. I don't feel bad about that. I feel it's a very great learning place for me. And all I knew is by 12 I said I don't want to be like them, stuck in what I saw was the same kind of thinking as most everybody who conforms in the working class on what is valuable, what isn't valuable. And the fact is that they suffered with all kinds of their own addictions and alcoholism, past traumas that they never really healed, they never really transformed, and they died that way as far as I'm concerned in a very narrow kind of world. So really I think what I was saying is I want a bigger world, I want a world that's liberating, not one that just hangs in there, right? Kind of clawing your way through life to stick and kind of make ends meet. And think, oh well, that's it, that's life. So I'm very much interested in the human potential because of that. But eventually, 12 years in post-secondary education in environmental sciences, ecology, and then into education itself, anything that I could try to figure out how to liberate us from the kind of crises that I started to see as I grew up as an adolescent, the crises that are facing our world in the future. I grew up in the 60s, 70s, so we were into liberation, there had to be a big transformation. So again, my parents sort of just represented the kind of society that to me wasn't changing, in the society in many ways that caused a lot of the problems that I as a young person would have to face in the future. I think young people feel that today.
The grassroots program I have in mind is called Life Enhancement Training, LET or LET. It has 3 levels to aid you on the mission to create citizens against fearmongering and, simply, to improve the quality of life for yourself, loved ones, and others in your community. First aid, transitioning, de-stressing practices. It may not be the focus of LET, but it still is essential for all of us to learn to recognize stressors, their effects on us, and how we manage them and self-regulate our body-mind systems. One of the most basic ways is to learn to breathe, more deeply when stressed. To exercise,
and eat good foods most of the time, to learn to catch reactive triggers, example, toxic anger, before it gets out of hand, and how to notice when abusive use of substances or behavior patterns become addictive and prevent you from fully functioning in intimate and/or other relationships. Second aid, recovering, claiming the 10 natural healers. This level is what makes this program, LET, truly unique amongst other programs. It is based on decades of careful research and a lot of experiences on what healing is when we are hurt.
We have to move from a coping culture to a healing culture. And this is so fundamental to our everyday practices and design of what has happened. And it's that moment that we moved from, because there's just no doubt in my mind that not only all living creatures know how to heal. When you're hurt, you heal. Basic law. And human societies learned that too, but culture starts to get a little complex. And that law can be forgotten. This kind of culture, the dominant worldview, the artificial worldview, is to me a coping culture. Well, what's the difference between coping and healing? And I sort of fundamentally said, well, the first thing in a coping culture is when you're injured, you have all kinds of automatic natural healing responses that come. Things like crying, laughing, sweating, shaking, trembling, talking through the issue that happened. You need attention. You need attention, unconditional receiving attention. I believe that is that love that you speak about earlier. It is essential to the healing process itself because it brings bondedness in a good way when there's the tendency to possibly fragment and dissociate from the whole, from the commune, from your body, from your soul.
The basic process of support is a peer-to-peer equal exchange of unconditional attention to support the natural healers and good, clear, rational thinking of too much emotion. We all want to be able to think clearly about our choices, and we all want to be able to feel our emotions and feelings. People have to be trained to listen deeply and trained to attune to and support the 10 natural healers. People become much more resilient when this is the case. Third aid, transforming, building a culture of fearlessness. This level is also unique in the LET program. I have always been a believer that to solve individual and group problems, there also has to be a critical analysis and solutions offered to solve, at least in part, the bigger problems of culture and society as a whole. That is, when such cultures become themselves oppressive to their citizens under forms like sexism, classism, racism, ageism, etc. Learning to become advocates and activists for our own liberation and others is essential to building a healthy society and a culture of fearlessness, rather than the predominant culture of fear and mistrust we so often experience today. Only then can we cooperate and become effective communities that care for all beings. LET. It's new. It's ready for you, if you are ready for it, to make the next move and open the door.